Can I just ask you to switch your microphones all off, and I'll start the script, please. Thank you very much. Members, we're now to commence this meeting of the Planning Committee. Please can the webcasting officer start the broadcast on the Council's YouTube channel, Braintree District Council's Committees. This channel has been set up to make sure that anyone can observe our democratic meetings. Therefore, please remember that this meeting can be watched at any time by anyone with an internet connection. There are subtitles on the YouTube channel. These are generated by YouTube. The Council is not responsible for these subtitles nor their accuracy. There is a slight delay between the meeting and the YouTube broadcast for approximately 30 seconds. Webcasting officer, please can you commence the broadcast and confirm, please?
I can confirm we're started.
Thank you very much. Good evening and welcome to this meeting of the Planning Committee on Tuesday the 8th of December 2020. Before we commence with the proceedings, I can confirm that the Council has adopted some basic etiquette rules for its remote meetings, and these are as follows. Please only speak when the Chairman invites you to do so. Members, please let the Chairman know that you wish to speak via the chat function. The Chairman will introduce speakers in the order at which they've made their request to speak, unless there is a point of order at which we will give way. Please minimise all distractions while you are in the meeting. Members are asked to keep your microphone muted until you are requested to speak. If you have interference on your video feed, please consider turning off your video and just connect to the meeting by the audio connection. Please bear in mind that there's a slight lag between speakers and other attendees hearing you. There are presentations for this evening's meeting. They will be shared via screens with the officers. Please indicate on the chat function if you experience any problems in viewing these presentations. When referring to officers' reports, please quote the page number and paragraph number to help your colleagues see the point you wish to make. There is no private business for tonight's meeting. However, please can remind members that should we have to move into private session, it is your responsibility to make sure that your venue and connection is private. If you lose connection at all at any point in this meeting, please try to rejoin the meeting for me to readmit you. If you have further problems, please email me and I will help you rejoin the meeting and connect. Please only use the chat function for the purpose prescribed for requesting to speak or for a point of order. The chat function is subject to the access to information regimes of FOI, EIR, and is also subject to data protection, rules of defamation, and the Council's Code of Conduct. To assist with managing the chat function for this meeting, agenda items will be placed to act as markers. I can confirm that the meeting is quorum and can proceed. The Planning Committee consists of the following members. The Chairman is Mrs. Wendy Scattergood. The Vice Chairman is Mrs. Ona Parker. The members are James Abbott, Kevin Bowers, Tom Cunningham, Patrick Horner, Hilton Johnson, David Mann, Andy Mundy, Frankie Ritchie, Gabrielle Spray, Nick Unsworth and Justin Wrench. This evening, we do have apologies from the following committee members. These include Councillor James Abbott, Councillor Frankie Ritchie, Councillor Nick Unsworth. We have officers in attendance, and these include Chris Padgett, Planning Development Manager, Lisa Page, Senior Planner, Alison Webb is the Governance Officer who is clerking this meeting, and I'm Emma Wisby, the meeting facilitator. To help distinguish councillors and officers on the broadcast, councillors have a prefix of CLLR and officers have a prefix of officer. There is no public question time speakers registered for this evening, so we do not have any parties with a prefix of PQT. I now hand over to the Chairman. Thank you very much, Mrs. Scattergood. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Wrench has just joined us. Do you want to test his connection before we commence the meeting?
Please, Chairman. Councillor Wrench, can we test your connection to this meeting, please?
Hello, Madam Chair. Apologies for just arriving just in the nick of time.
That's quite all right.
Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Emma. Thank you very much indeed. Good evening, members, and good evening to the members of the public watching us on YouTube this evening. I will go straight on to the planning meeting. As all members know how to contact me via the chat function. We've been doing this for several months now, and I think we don't need my long spiel on what to do. Item 1, apologies for absence. I have apologies for absence from Councillors Abbott, Ritchie and Unsworth. Everyone else is here. Item 2, declarations of interest. Does any member wish to declare the existence and nature of any disclosable pecuniary interest, other pecuniary interest or non-pecuniary interest relating to items on the agenda having regard to the Code of Conduct for members? Councillor Cunningham.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I'd like to declare an enhanced non-pecuniary item on interest, on item 5B and 5C, consistent with previous declarations I've made. As Cabinet Member for Economic Development and Chairman of the Horizon 120 Reference Group, I've obviously spoken in favour of Horizon 120, so it would be appropriate if I did not participate in the debate on that item. In addition, as a member of Great Notley Parish Council, who have been consulted on this planning application but have not actually commented. Thank you. I will leave at that agenda item. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Cunningham. I can't see anyone else wishing to declare an interest, so I'll go straight on to the next item, which is item 3, the minutes of the previous meeting. I have the minutes of the meeting of the 24th of November. If anyone has any comments on these or wish to raise them now. But if you're satisfied with these minutes and would like to, I would like a mover and a seconder. And I will take silence as approval following that.
Sorry, Madam Chairman, the minutes haven't been published yet.
They haven't.
Oh, so available for the next meeting.
So sorry. I'm sorry. Slipped up, haven't I? Item 4, public question time. We have no general questions this evening. So I go straight on to planning applications, which is item 5. Members, we do have 3 items under Part B, which we could en bloc this evening. The first application is application 2000610HH, 56 Avenue Road, Whittam. It's coming to us because the Whittam Town Council have objected, contrary to the officer's recommendation. We also have application 2001361HH, 20 Samuel Courtauld Avenue. The applicant is an employee at BDC, and that is why it's come to us. And then we have application 2001628HH, 28 Grayling Close, Braintree. And that is also an application by an employee of BDC. Under normal circumstances, all 3 of these applications would have been dealt with by delegated permission. Does anyone wish to move en bloc those 3 items?
I'm happy to move all 3, Chair.
Thank you.
I think we can agree that they're all fairly straightforward applications. And as you say, they would have been delegated in other circumstances.
Yes, they all thank you, Councillor Mrs. Spray. They all meet planning policy, so they would have been approved anyhow. Thank you very much. Well, it has been moved. They have been moved by Councillor Mann, and it has been seconded by Councillor Mrs. Spray. And I think on this occasion, I do need to put this to the vote. So I will go to the vote of those that wish to approve all 3. Councillor Bowers.
4.
Councillor Cunningham.
4.
Councillor Horner.
4.
Councillor Johnson.
4.
Councillor Mann.
4.
Councillor Monday.
4.
Councillor Mrs. Parker.
4.
Councillor Mrs. Spray.
4.
And Councillor Wrench.
4.
Thank you very much, members. Those 3 items have been approved and unanimously. So we now come back to the items in Part A. And the first application is application 2000603 out Chapel House, Leather Lane, Great Yeldham. This can be found on pages 6 to 22. We have no speakers on this application, and the application is going to be presented by Lisa Page. I will pass over to Lisa. Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. So this application is an outline application with all matters reserved for 2 dwellings at Chapel House, Leather Lane and Great Yeldham. The application is being reported to committee in accordance with the council scheme and delegation, as the parish council have objected contrary to the officer recommendation. Here is the location plan. The site is located on the northern side of Leather Lane and Great Yeldham. The site is associated with Chapel House, which is outlined in blue on this plan. The site was formerly used as paddock, but is now used as garden in association with Chapel House. The site is located within the Great Yeldham village envelope. It abuts the conservation area boundary, but lies outside of it. There are a number of Grade 2 listed buildings around the site to the south, east and the west, and these are hatched or lined on this location plan. Members will see on some of the photographs in a moment that there is a land level difference across the site, and the land slopes up from the highway. The site where the proposed dwellings are located is level, however, and then the site rises again towards the northern end of the site. So here is an aerial photograph of the site outlined in red. It shows how the site is surrounded by existing residential development. You can see that the development on the site would maintain good separation to the neighbouring properties, and this aerial photograph shows trees and shrubs on the boundary, but not within the site area for the development. The application has been submitted with an indicative layout, so this is not for approval at this stage, but is rather submitted just to show one way in which the dwellings could be accommodated on the site. Officers have reviewed this and considered that the plan does demonstrate that the 2 dwellings can be accommodated on the site satisfactorily. The dwellings would maintain adequate, acceptable standards of amenity and with relationship with the neighbours. And in terms of the setting of the conservation area, there's no objection, and the heritage consultant has also raised no concerns to the principle of development. The submission also includes some indicative elevations as to how a dwelling could be designed within the site. So this is showing plot 1, which is a 3-bed dwelling, 2-storey scale in nature. And again, plot 2, similar 3-bed dwelling, 2-storey scale. The application has also been submitted with some indicative sections. Again, this is helpful in showing sort of the land level changes. You can see how the land does slope up from the highway. Officers have been quite clear to the applicant during pre-application discussions and during the course of this application that the site can only accommodate 2 dwellings, and we would not look favourably upon development on the northern section of the site. Again, although all matters are reserved within this application, the application has been submitted with indicative access details. This has been reviewed by County Highways, and it does demonstrate that the access can be achieved with the visibility displays to meet Essex County Council highway standards. The telegraph pole that has been noted within some of the third-party representation and from the parish will need to be relocated. So turning to some photographs here, this is a view looking into the site from the highway. Again, another view looking north into the site. This is showing just sort of the access again with the adjoining property, looking down the highway, and to the other view there. This is a view north into the site. This is sort of fairly central view within the site, looking sort of north within it. And this photo here is a northeastern boundary and another northern boundary there. And some other views just looking back onto the highway. And this is the access point, again, looking back onto the main road. There is an update to members here, just in terms of a change to a plan number, which is the location plan. So this plan has been recently altered to include the red edge extending all the way to the highway as required. So we're looking to just alter the approved plan to 07B. So in terms of a summary and conclusions, it's an outline application with all matters reserved for 2 dwellings on the site. It's located within the Great Yeldham village envelope. Officers are content that 2 dwellings can comfortably be accommodated on the site. Vehicular access has shown and would be provided to meet Essex County Council highway standards. There's been no objection in principle from the highway consultant, and matters of layout, scale, access, landscape and access would be considered in detail at reserved matters stage, and therefore subject to the change to the location plan to be revised to revision B, officers' recommendation is to grant subject to conditions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lisa. Thank you. Councillor Mrs. Parker.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Thank you, Lisa, for your report. This obviously is a site within the village, well, within the middle of the village, really. Our heritage advisors are satisfied there is no harm to the conservation area area and the listed buildings. My only reservation with this site is the access. And I know Leather Lane extremely well, driving down there virtually every single day. And what will not be apparent from looking at Street View, which I also looked at, is the number of parked cars that are on the opposite side of the road from the access. I looked at the swept path analysis for the access, and I think they use a fire engine as a sort of standard larger vehicle. In order to turn, it would have to cross onto the other side of the road. So I do have, my only reservation about this site is whether or not, whether the access is acceptable, and particularly in relation to construction. So I would like Lisa, please, to address that. And the other comment I would like to make is that I completely agree with the officers as much. I'm pleased to see that negotiations have succeeded in reducing the quantum of dwellings from 3 to 2. I think that's much more appropriate. I think the problem with layout on this site is the change in levels, and we saw from one of the photographs just quite how much higher above particularly the dwellings. I've forgotten the name of the road, at the bottom road by the river. It's quite substantial. It's quite a substantial difference. So I think it's much better to have 2 dwellings on there than 3, and I'm pleased that's been achieved. So if Lisa could just address those points on access, I'd be grateful.
Thank you. So the officers have had extensive conversations with the highway officer and are aware of sort of the local residents and the parish council's concerns in regard to the new access. Officers have reviewed the width of the road and note the on-street parking provision, and sort of also the level change between the highway and the site itself. As we've seen during the presentation, and as you've looked up separately, the application is supported by detailed drawings of the proposed access. Essex County Council's Highway Authority have reviewed those and are content that they would meet with their standards. In terms of the comments you're making regarding construction, the county highways have recommended some conditions in regard to construction management plan, and that, as you'll see, condition 3 in the report is proposed to be applied on this application. So officers are content that there isn't a reason to raise a concern in regards to the highway consideration. Thank you.
Madam Chairman, may I just come back on to Lisa on that? The only thing that concerns me is whether large vehicles are able to turn if there are cars parked on the other side. And the swept path analysis indicates, the swept path analysis shows them having to use the opposite side of the road, the opposite carriageway, in order to turn. If they can turn without using that, without going on the opposite side of the road, then I would be satisfied. But it's just not clear to me from the drawings that is possible. I wonder if will that be clarified later at I know this access is reserved matters. Would that be clarified later, and would that make it impossible to develop this site if you can't do that? That's really.
I think that's a fair question. You're right. So this application is all matters reserved. So access is a later matter for consideration by officers. However, the application has been submitted with fairly substantial details in regard to that. All I could say is that highways have had a look at it and are content that adequate access can be achieved. Adequate access can be achieved, and there wouldn't be harm to sort of highway safety from sort of the nature of their comments back. Whether or not they would submit some further information to do with tracking and other bits and pieces on the reserve matters, that they may well do. But on the application as it stands, highways are content with the level of information that's been submitted for the 2 dwellings on site.
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you very much. Thank you, Councillor Mrs. Parker. Councillor Mann.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I mean, this could offer itself as a little case study of why two houses, only two houses, might be of concern to a parish council, and sort of cause them to have a different opinion from officers. You know, the fact of local knowledge about you know, the actual lay of the land, the parking issue, the prevalence of sort of listed building. I mean, they know the context very well. But you know, sort of thing we were talking about only last evening. But thank you for the very clear report and very full report. And I think the officers have called this absolutely correctly. It's, again, as Councillor Parker said, it's good to see there's been negotiation and a reduction from three dwellings to two. But this is in the you know, the centre of the settlement. It you know, doesn't apparently impact adversely on the sort of abutting conservation area. It's, you know, surrounded, we can see from sort of the visuals, by existing residential development, and yet there's good separation from what is there already. So I think that this you know, is an application we can support, though I think we've got to remind ourselves that it is only outline, and I think there might be a deal of work to do under reserve matters of design and materials, particularly, so that you know, these two dwellings you know, fit in with the street scene. So, Madam Chair, happy to move officer's recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Mann. Does it find a seconder before I move on? Excuse me.
Yes, I'll second, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Mrs. Spray. Did you wish to speak? I have Councillor Johnson as well wishing.
Only just to say that I'm happy with the vast majority of this. I think, like Councillor Parker, my only slight concerns were around access, traffic, and so on. But I think as long as that can be fully sort of tied down when reserved matters come through, then I'm happy with it. Otherwise, there are no planning grounds for refusal. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Johnson.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I know this site extremely well, having spent many hours in the pub opposite for various reasons. To me, it seems to meet the parameters for the site for planning. I've looked through the parish council objections, and I can't see any real reason for them. In terms of the comments by Councillor Parker, a fire engine, and I speak from experience, could certainly reverse into that site without too much hassle, and then would exit facing forward into the traffic. So I think those issues are not too bad. I mean, I've got a motorhome which is just about as big as a fire engine. I'm quite confident I could get my motorhome in there. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Johnson. I have no one else indicating they wish to speak. Does anyone wish to? I give you 1 minute to indicate. No. Well, it has been moved and seconded that we grant this application. I'm now going to put that to the vote, and that is with the changed plan number. Councillor Bowers.
4.
Councillor Cunningham.
4.
Councillor Horner.
4.
Councillor Johnson.
4.
Councillor Mann.
4.
Councillor Monday.
4.
Councillor Mrs. Parker.
4.
Councillor Mrs. Spray.
4.
Councillor Wrench.
4.
Thank you, members. That has been approved unanimously. I now wait while Councillor Cunningham leaves the meeting before we move on to the next two items. Is he gone? Yeah.
Chairman, I can confirm that Councillor Cunningham has left the meeting in accordance with his declarations of interest. Thank you.
Thank you, Emma. We now come on to the next application, and that is application 20-01502 VAR, land west of 131, A131 Horizon 120, London Road, Great Knockley. And this first part of the application can be found on pages 23 to 46, and it's also going to be presented by Lisa. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Okay, this is a Section 73 application to vary Condition 21 relating to Skylark Mitigation Compensation Strategy of Permission 19/01616/full, which was for engineering works to re-level the site to provide building plots and the construction of 3 internal roads to link in with the strategic infrastructure. This variation would allow revised wording to the condition regarding the implementation of Skylark mitigation measures. The application is being reported to committee in accordance with the council scheme of delegation, as Braintree District Council is the applicant. So here is a location plan. The application site measures just over 27 hectares. It formerly consists of agricultural fields, but development has commenced to alter the use to employment and commercial use in accordance with the approved planning permission and the local development order. You can see here that the site is bounded to the east by the A131, with Great Knockley Country Park located immediately to the north. To the south is the Gridserve development, beyond which is Slampsey's farm, and to the west lie agricultural land. So the original application to which this Section 73 application relates was for engineering works to level the site with the construction of 3 secondary access roads. So on this plan here, they are the green ones. So this northern internal road and this more central and southern. So this is just looking at these internal secondary roads in a bit more detail. So this is the northern side, and this plan shows the central and southern access road. So here is aerial photograph. This was taken in October this year. I've reorientated this photo just for the ease of the presentation. So just to be clear, Great Knockley Country Park is shown on the right-hand side of the screen, which is actually to the north of the site. A131 lies to the south of this photo, which is obviously the east of the site. So here you can see back in October, these 3 internal access roads. So this is the northern access road, the central and the southern are already being constructed. Here is a aerial photograph taken from the Cuckoo Way Tesco roundabout. So again, this is where one of the access from Horizon 120 will be taken, but this photograph shows that northern internal access road and the central. And this is another photo looking back now onto that Cuckoo Way Tesco roundabout. You can just see the internal access road here to the right-hand side of the photo. Another aerial photograph here taken from the south of the site. So Gridserve development is where my cursor is hovering. This is the main access, one of the accesses from the A131 into Horizon 120. And this shows the southern internal access road, the central, and sort of just in the distance there, that northern internal access road. So this Section 73 application seeks a change to Condition 21 of Planning Permission 19/01616, which relates to Skylark mitigation. The changes sought are to the wording of the condition to allow for a revision regarding the implementation of the mitigation measures. So the extant planning permission agreed that on-site compensation could not be provided for Skylarks, and therefore on that basis off-site compensation was agreed to be provided with the provision of 12 Skylark plots, and this was to be secured via condition. So due to the nature of the way the condition was worded, it required a separate legal agreement outside of the planning permission to be signed by all relevant parties. So indeed, that legal agreement securing the plots has already been prepared and signed by both parties. And that legal agreement secures that the strategy be undertaken from the 1st of September 2020. So work has already commenced in terms of that strategy. So the proposed revised wording on this condition sought with this application will confirm the starting date for the strategy and does reflect what's already been agreed within the legal agreement undertaken from Braintree District Council. And the reason for it is just to provide further clarity to any future occupiers of the site to understand that the details of the condition have been met and the proposed measures required. Now, there is an update to members in terms of conditions. These should have been circulated to you earlier today. So since the drafting of the committee report, a number of the conditions have been discharged by officers. So it is recommended that these be altered to form a compliance condition with the relevant discharge of condition application. So this relates to a change to the wording of condition 8 to be a compliance in regard to the construction method statement, condition 9 in regard to the surface water drainage scheme, condition 10 in regard to the surface water drainage during construction scheme, a compliance change also to condition 11 in regard to the SUDS maintenance plan, and lastly condition 13 also altered to compliance in regard to the badger protection measures agreed under the relevant discharge application. So in summary, the site is allocated as a strategic employment land within the adopted and draft local plan. And of course, since the grant of the original permission, the authority have adopted the local development order for Horizon 120. The secondary roads are required to facilitate the wider development of the site, which will bring social and economic benefits. There has been limited harm identified with the application. This Section 73 application specifically addresses the skylark mitigation with revised wording of Condition 21 to confirm the starting date for the strategy and to reflect the legal undertaking by Braintree District Council. And therefore, subject to the changes to the conditions as outlined, it is recommended that the application be granted. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you very much indeed. Councillor Mrs. Spray.
Thank you, Chairman. I really don't think I have very much to say on this. I think this it seems to be pretty much a technical matter around just making sure that the wording on the conditions in particular is correct and is in line with our intentions and the developer's intentions on the site. So I really have no other comment in that I read through the report and I did look through the amended conditions which were sent over to us this afternoon. So I'm happy to move officer's recommendation for approval. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Does it find a seconder?
Yes, Councillor Wrench.
Thank you, Councillor Wrench. Councillor Wrench, did you wish to speak?
Just to agree with Councillor Spray, yeah, there's nothing else I can add.
Right, thank you very much indeed. Well, I have no indication anyone else wishes to speak, so I'm going to put this to the vote. Members, well, you've all got the sheet with the new conditions on, so I don't think I need to read them all out. It's the condition 8, 9, 10, 11 and 13. Has anyone not seen the conditions and want them to have them read to them? No. Well, I'm going to put this to the vote then. All those in favour of granting this application? Councillor Bowers.
For.
Councillor Cunning. Oh, Councillor Cunning is not here. Councillor Horner.
For.
Councillor Johnson.
For.
Councillor Mann.
For.
Councillor Monday.
For.
Councillor Mrs. Parker.
For.
Councillor Mrs. Spray.
For.
And Councillor Wrench.
For.
Thank you. Members, that's been agreed unanimously. We'll now come on to the next application, and that is application 201503/VAR. And once again, this is variation of condition 21 again. Have I got the wrong one? No, I have to write one. And once again, this is going to be presented by Lisa. Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Okay, this is a further Section 73 application to vary Condition 21 relating to skylark mitigation compensation strategy on permission 19/01525 full, which granted the construction of two access points onto the site from the A131, and the construction of the roads between the two access points within the site and associated drainage, landscaping and other engineering works. The variation sought within this Section 73 application would allow revised wording of the condition regarding the implementation of mitigation measures for skylarks. The application is being reported to committee in accordance with the Council Scheme of Delegation, as Braintree District Council is the applicant. So here is the location plan as before. It is a site that measures just over 27 hectares. Development has commenced on site to alter the use to employment and commercial use in accordance with the approved planning permissions and the local development order. As we know, the site is bounded to the east by the A131, to the north with Great Notley Country Park, to the south by the GridServe development, and to the west agricultural land. So this original application to which the 73 application relates was for the two access points we can see on this plan here, 1 and 2, to the north and south of the site, which linked onto the A131, and for the main spine road that sort of cuts through the site. So looking at, this is the northern access of the Cuckoo Way roundabout. It just shows in a bit more detail how that would join onto the A131. And this is the southern access here, also joining onto the A131, which is the GridServe development that is built out, lies here. This is just showing a bit more detail of the internal spine road. So here's the Cuckoo Way roundabout. You can see the access off there, and then joining into this spine road that links with this plan all the way through the site and to this southern access onto the A131. Again, looking at some aerial photographs, this was taken in October this year. It's been reorientated just for the ease of the presentation. So this is Great Notley Country Park to the right-hand side of the photograph. That's actually the north. The A131 to the bottom of the plan is actually the eastern boundary. This is the Cuckoo Way roundabout. This is where the new access would be proposed. And also to the south of the site, alongside the GridServe development, is the southern access onto Horizon 120, which has actually been undertaken. Another aerial photograph here. This is taken from the Cuckoo Way roundabout, or the Tesco's roundabout. You can see the internal spine road has already being laid out, and this is where that fourth arm of this roundabout would take place. Another aerial photograph of the south of the site, you can see the access that's already being formed off the A131. And then this is your internal spine road. So the changes sought within this application are not dissimilar to the previous item we just heard. The application seeks changes to the wording of condition 21 relating to skylark mitigation. The changes sought are to allow for a revision regarding the implementation of the mitigation measures. So the date change to the 1st of September 2020 within the revised wording of the condition will link in with that set out with the legal agreement already signed. This will provide clarity to any future occupiers of the site to understand that the details of the condition have been met and the proposed measures required. Again, there is a further update to members in terms of conditions. These have been circulated to members today. So since drafting the committee report, a number of conditions have already been discharged by officers, and therefore it's recommended that these conditions be altered to form a compliance condition. So again, they relate to condition 8, the construction method statement, condition 9, surface water drainage scheme, condition 10 in regard to surface water drainage during construction scheme. Condition 11 is also proposed to be altered to a compliance condition in regard to the SUDS maintenance plan that's been approved under the discharge application, and also condition 13 relating to badger protection measures to be in accordance with that approved under the discharge application. So in summary, the site is allocated for strategic employment land in the adopted and the draft local plan. Since the grant of the original permission, the LPA have of course adopted the local development order for Horizon 120. The spine road and access points shown here are required to facilitate the wider development of the site, and they will bring social and economic benefits to the area. The level of harm that has been identified is limited, And this section 73 specifically addresses the skylark mitigation with the revised wording of condition 21. This will confirm the start date for the strategy and will reflect the legal undertaking already signed by Braintree District Council. And therefore it is recommended to members that, subject to the changes to the conditions outlined, that the application be granted. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you, Lisa. Councillor Mrs. Spray.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. As with the previous application, this again is pretty much a technical matter to ensure that the wording in the conditions is compliant with the development on the site. So I'm happy to move officer's recommendation for approval.
Thank you very much. Does it find a seconder?
Councillor Johnson.
Thank you, Councillor Johnson. I have no one else indicating they wish to speak. I'm going to put this to the vote, and we are voting to revise condition 21, and you have all the condition changes which are the same as the previous application before you. So I'm going to put it to the vote now when I get my piece of paper. All those in favour? Councillor Bowers.
For.
Councillor Horner.
For.
Councillor Johnson.
For.
Councillor Mann.
For.
Councillor Monday.
For.
Councillor Mrs. Parker.
For.
Councillor Mrs. Spray.
For.
Councillor Wrench.
For.
Thank you, members. That has also been approved unanimously. That brings us to the end of our planning meeting. I believe that Councillor Mrs. Spray would like to just speak on an item. Thank you. I will agree to that. Councillor Mrs. Spray.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairman. I promise I won't be more than a minute, 2 at the most. I don't want to keep anybody. I just wanted to make a comment about tonight's Part B applications. And this follows on from the debate that we had at full council last night on the revisions to the planning scheme of delegation. A very, very good debate. 2 of the 3 applications in Part B tonight had to appear on the agenda because they involved BDC members of staff, so that's perfectly correct. The third one was for a fairly modest extension to a house. There were no planning reasons to refuse it. It was only on the agenda because the town council objected. Now, their grounds for objection were the adverse effect on the neighbouring property's amenity space. And when I went on the website to have a look, which I did when we got the agenda through, when you look on the website, the only letter or comment is actually from that neighbouring property, and it's in support. The letter actually says, I'm perfectly happy with my neighbour's extension. The only thing they asked for was that I think the Party Wall Act be adhered to, and that out of courtesy they be given a month's notice before building started, which is perfectly reasonable. So this application should really never have come to committee. The officer has had to prepare a report. He or she will also have had to prepare a presentation in case it was needed. So it has cost time, officer time, and money. And it really should have been delegated to a decision by officers, which forms a lot of what we were discussing last night. That's really all I wanted to say, Chairman, and I rest my case. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Mrs. Spray. Thank you. Well, I will now bring the meeting to the end at 19:57. This is quite a quick meeting for us, and I wish you all good night. And we've one more meeting this year, and then we will finish for 2020. Let's hope we can get back to proper planning meetings, perhaps. Oh, I believe they're thinking we might be able to late next spring. I'm not sure. I will keep our fingers crossed. Good night, and thank you very much. And can I thank the officers for attending, and can I thank Emma for her assistance, and Alison in the background somewhere who takes the minutes. Thank you all, and good night.
Thank you, Chairman. Chairman, before I ask the webcaster to terminate the broadcast on the Council's YouTube channel, please can I remind all members that the Council retain performance to data regarding your connection to this meeting this evening. This is held just in case we do have a legal challenge. Webcasting officer, please can you terminate the broadcast and confirm, please?